This is Real Estate Rookie Show number 46. My name is Ashley Kerr, and I am here. It is New Year's Eve, and I am with Tony Robinson. Hello, Tony.
What's up, Ashley? Happy New Year's Eve to you. We're like on the cusp of ending one of the craziest years ever, and hopefully 2021 is just a slightly better version of last year or this year.
Right. I know. So you had mentioned that you have a new property under contract going into the new year already. So tell me about that.
It's been so crazy, Ashley. Like, 2020 has been a crazy year in so many ways, but I feel so grateful for the growth that our real estate business has had. And we've been on like this really rapid pace of acquiring property. So we've got a property in Pigeon Forge, another cabin that closes in, like 10 days. And then we've got another short-term rental in Joshua Tree that'll be closing next month. And we just saw that one in person yesterday. So super excited about that one. And that one's cool because
you have two in each of those markets, right? Or do you have three in Joshua Tree?
We have two in Joshua Tree with a third under contract. Okay. And then we have one in Pigeon Forge. And then actually we have three under contract in Pigeon Forge right now. So.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we're trying to grow fast. But the one that we have in Joshua Tree, that's our first time doing it with another partner. So, I've had the same partner for all of them, but we brought in a third partner on this one. So we're kind of testing out that model. So we're excited about it.
Nice. Awesome. This weekend, I think, or next week, depending on the weather, I'm going to look at 20 acres. And it has 3 storage sheds on it that are used for storage for farm equipment and storage for boats and RVs. It's right near a lake. So this will be like something completely different for me, except, my husband's a farmer, so I know about farm equipment storage, I guess, because we have sheds and storage, but we don't make any money off of it. And then some of the land is leased to a farmer to use. So this property was bought by somebody, I think in 2008, they bought it as a foreclosure and they ran this boat storage out of it. And so my partner and I really want to acquire more land. And so hopefully with this 20 acres, we'll be able to pay for the land and own this land for free down the road after, we collect the storage income from it. So I'm really excited.
That's so cool, man.
To see this property. Yeah.
Actually, the Joshua Tree property that we're about to close on, it's on 2.5 acres. So I'm not quite at like the 20 or 200 that you're at, but I'm like creeping up there. So we'll
that's
see.
Really good for that area.
It is, yeah.
2.5,
It's actually pretty big. So our other properties on like about 1/2 acre, both of them. So this one's at 2.5. And what's really cool is that we have the ability to add a second unit on that one. So that's kind of the long-term play with that.
Yeah, it's just, I love it, all the different ways to, you can actually do real estate investing and the different ways to make money off real estate and property. Yeah. So, but today we have another great guest, actually 2 guests, husband and wife, Annie and Trey. So they're going to tell us about how they were, accidental landlords, and then they accidentally flipped their house. They had a live and flip. And so they started investing across the country, actually near Buffalo, where Trey is originally from, because it didn't make sense in their Seattle market.
And what's really cool is Trey talks about how he was the reluctant spouse in the group and what kind of converted him into actually believing in real estate investing. And now he's like fully bought in. So for those of you that are curious on how to get your spouse on board, definitely listen to that piece. Trey also talks about his mother-in-law. So keep an ear out for that on how Trey feels about his mother-in-law. But overall, it's a really good episode. Lots of good information there.
Annie and Trey, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. Do you guys want to go ahead and one of you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got started into real estate?
Yeah,
sure.
Go for it, Annie.
I'll start. Okay. I'm Annie Johnson. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have 3 kids. Me and Trey, we got married when I was like 20, so I started out pretty young. I've been a stay-at-home mom since. For fun and for part-time work, I teach group fitness at a local gym, and I love trail running and mountain hiking. And we got into real estate investing by accidentally making money on our first, renting out our first home. So that's basically us.
That's it. Yep.
And Trey, what about you? What do you do for work?
So I'm a general contractor, and I fish commercially up in Alaska in the summers. and I flip houses when Annie buys them.
When I buy them, you buy them.
And he's also a Buffalo Bills fan.
That's right. Let's go Buffalo.
This is a great time to mention that you're a Bills fan.
That's right. No one circles the wagons like we do on Rookie.
So let's talk about that first deal. I mean, you guys kind of talked about who was actually buying these deals and what made you get started. Who was the one that brought it up first? Like, hey, let's do real estate investing.
That was me. No, really, it was Annie. Yeah. Why don't you tell her, man?
Are we gonna go into our deep dive deal?
Well, just tell us first, like, what happened to actually leave before you got to the first deal. Like, what research or how did you get Trey on board?
I don't know, Trey. You should probably take that one.
So, I actually was completely not on board. Like, I grew up in a small town. I just wanted a place to live. Everybody leave me alone. Like, live there forever kind of thing. So I was not on board with real estate investing or even having like a mother-in-law or anything like that. So Annie was like, I think she had a friend that actually kind of mentioned something to her about house hacking. And I was like, no. So we totally ditched the idea and went and bought actually a manufactured home, a pretty new one, 2011, I think it was, on like 6 acres.
2015. Sorry.
15. Okay. So super new. And like it was on 6 acres, kind of just outside of town, nice cozy setting, had a little shop and up on a hill with a view. So I'm thinking, all right, we're good. So I was totally not into the whole investing thing. So, but what happened was we ended up things didn't work out in that location, just kind of like away from friends and family. And so we ended up thinking, shoot, we don't want to live here anymore. So I did do a lot of work to the property, but we decided, let's sell this thing. And when we went to sell it, we're like, we can't really get what we want for it. Our real estate agent said, this is what you could probably get. And we're like, what's the other options? And so I think she kind of maybe threw out the idea of renting it. And so we took her advice and we rented it out and found some good renters. But that's kind of when we came across BiggerPockets, actually, which I think Annie could probably take it from there.
Well, sorry, one comment I want to make. I was laughing here because you said
Me too. I know what you're gonna say.
you said that you didn't want a mother-in-law, and I was like Annie, we can get married, but I'm not taking your mom. Your mom's got to stay. But then it clicked. You meant like a mother-in-law suite, so that makes a ton of sense. So you guys were kind of like accidental investors to begin with. You had this property. What was it that finally kind of made you, Trey, say, okay, I'm okay with renting this out to someone? Was it just because you couldn't get what you wanted, or did you start seeing the vision at that point?
We saw the market, how it was going around here and the appreciation people were getting. We had a neighbor sell their home and get pretty good appreciation, but like we could see it upticking. So I think for me, it was more about what we could get for the home in a year or two, that vision, and not so much about the renting part.
Trey, what market are you guys in?
So we're in the Pacific Northwest. So basically the Seattle market. Not into the renting at first, just saw the value of keeping it for another couple of years.
So Annie, it sounds like you were the one that was kind of driving initially the push to become an investor. What was it about investing that kind of caught your eye initially, and what made you feel that you and Trey would be good fits to do that?
I think it was kind of just like building over like the last 5 years. When we did rent out our house in Poulsbo, it was like cash flowing, and we're kind of like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then when we went to sell it, it was even more awesome. We're like, wow, we didn't really try this. Like, we weren't trying to make a bunch of money, but we did. And we're like, if we actually put our minds to it, like we could probably make this a career.
Yeah. And it was kind of, to go a little deeper in that, I don't know if you guys want to hear it, but when we bought the house, it was like in the woods, and like the first thing we did was knock down all these trees, and they actually paid us to give ourselves a view of the water and the mountains or the mountains.
Yeah. The loggers, like, yeah.
And so,
so you had the loggers come in and log the property and take the timber, and then you guys got the nice view. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. And also cleared. Sorry.
I mean, Trey, you probably know about this growing up in the country with me, but like land value, there's so many different ways. Like you had those 6 acres on there. where you can sell the timber, you can, have honeybees on there, you can tap into the maple syrup. Like there's so many different things you can do with raw land too, that I think sometimes people don't think about that. They think more of like, whoa, 6 acres, that's a lot of lawn mowing I have to pay for. But sometimes you can definitely get, the value out of it with, different things. So
yeah, no. And when we bought the house, actually, part of the deal is on 6 acres. But now there's a rule there where you can only have 5-acre parcels. But before they put that rule in, this guy split his property into 2 3-acre parcels. And we actually got both of those. And the caveat was it went right through the shop for some reason. And so we had to find a creative way to move that property line so we could sell both properties separately. So it kind of worked out great.
And how did you guys do that? What did you do creatively? I mean, to move that property line to get it, did you have to have a surveyor come out and get a new survey done? And
it was actually super simple because we owned both lots and the line was in between both my properties. So all I had to do is call the surveyor. They didn't even have to use their lasers or anything. They just came and measured, I think it was 30 feet, and just literally just moved the line on paper. And at that point we had all the proper distance from the property line so people could build on there if they wanted to. And that parcel was right on top of this ridge with a mountain view that the timber guys had cleared. So, I mean, it was a great lot and it was super desirable. So yeah, it was actually pretty easy.
What did the numbers look like on this deal? What did you purchase it for? And then what did you cash flow? And then what did you end up selling it for?
We bought it for, I think, $235. It was on the market for $260. And it was on the market a long time because I think it was a manufactured home and a lot of people weren't interested in it, but we wanted the land and we wanted the view. And so we're let's just put in a low ball offer. And then we got it right away with a love letter and one offer for $235. And then we lived there for 2.5 years. We decided that we wanted to move on to something else. And so that's when our realtor suggested renting it because we weren't really, I think she suggested $250 maybe listing it. And we're I think we could get more. I don't know. So we rented it out. And that's actually when I first heard about BiggerPockets. I went on a Facebook group and I asked hey, what does it mean to be a landlord? And someone had thrown out the name BiggerPockets and I kind of didn't really understand what it was. It sounds like people who are trying to make money where I'm just trying to rent my house out. I didn't really get it. Oh, people make money doing this. I don't know. I've known a few landlords and they're not really rich or anything.
I don't want to make money. I just want to rent my house out. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what my thinking was then. And anyway, so we rented it out for, I think it was $200 cash flow for us. Right, Trey? Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's before we really knew about capital expenses. So let's just say 200.
Okay.
It was our mortgage was 15 something and we rented it for what, 1850?
Okay. Yeah, so you had a little room there. But sorry, you mentioned, Annie, that you wrote a love letter. What is that? Elaborate on that for me.
So I think they're pretty popular in the Seattle area. If someone's looking at offers on a home, sometimes they'll pick someone with a love letter that they want to sell their home to.
Yeah. Well, so what do you say in a love letter?
This is our dream home. We've been wanting a home with property. We want to have a farm and raise our kids here. It's basically what we said, I think.
Yeah.
And they were selling actually the home for their dad that passed away that lived in it. And I think they read it and were just it's yours.
It kind of stuck with them. That's awesome. That's a unique strategy. Now, you also said, so this is a manufactured home. And for folks who don't know how those differ from, a traditional home, walk us through what those differences are. And then in your mind, what are some of the, I guess the pros and cons with going with a manufactured home?
This manufactured home was pretty new. I know older manufactured homes, there's some red flags. I think this one was only 4 years old. And for me, when we were living in it, I kind of was oh, it's a manufactured home. Oh, this is kind of lame, to be honest. And I felt we couldn't really add a whole lot of value to the house to flip it. My husband's a carpenter, he can be handy and fix stuff, but it was still a manufactured home. And I think that's why a lot of people don't look at it as a good investment. But for us, it was.
Yeah. So really for you, the cons were more so just like I guess like the aesthetics. It didn't feel like a normal home for you, but I mean, it was still a great investment. And at the end of the day, that's all we're looking for, right?
Exactly.
There's a stigma with manufactured homes because, 25 years ago, they were kind of crappy, but now they actually hold them to a higher standard than regular homes. So they're actually really good homes, and you can get good insurance, all that good stuff. And you can't really add too much to them, but if you have a good lot and it's well taken care of, they can appreciate. So I guess that's the only thing I want to say.
And at the end of the day, right, it's really about the numbers. And as long as the numbers make sense when you're investing, manufactured home, it doesn't matter, right? Like if the numbers make sense, let's do it. Now, you guys have continued to grow your portfolio since then. I guess walk us through your journey since that first investment.
I don't know if we went over the numbers, but we ended up selling it a year after we rented it. We sold it for $330,000.
Wow.
Yeah. We were really excited, and we're like, this is awesome. But then the most exciting part was we listed the second lot that it was on because we divided it. And so we sold that for $115,000, and that was
wow.
That was free.
And this was in 1 year? This was 1 year?
So this is our first home we bought and then sold like 3 years after we bought it. Yeah. And then I think that's when we were like, we've been landlords, that's when we actually dove into BiggerPockets and decided to look more into this.
Well, that's awesome. That's like a great, now everyone's going to go buy manufactured homes now. You guys started the trend. Now it's happening. Yeah. So what happens after that first deal? Like, where do you guys go from there?
Well, I told Trey about BiggerPockets, but I'd never looked into it. But he had a friend who's like just really good with his money and told Trey to look into BiggerPockets, and I'll let Trey take it from here, how he found our duplex.
Oh, okay. So, well, first, before the duplex, we bought a house in Snohomish, another area in Washington, just a single family home. And I can't remember if we were thinking that was going to be our forever home or what we were doing, but we just wanted to be in that area, kind of closer to family. We didn't want to rent. Around here, rent is insane. So it was like, we might as well just buy a house because you're going to pay less to buy a house than rent, and at least you'll get some appreciation. So we bought another house, and then while we were at that house, I actually started listening to BiggerPockets podcast pretty regularly. I mean, like almost every day. If I was working in the yard or something, I'd have my headphones in. So we started looking. We didn't want to go too crazy as far as, we didn't have a ton. We had some money from the deal that we did before, but we still want to be a little conservative. So we're not really looking. We looked in the Seattle area, but the risk was really high, low reward. It seemed like, not that it can't be done. It's just for us, it was a little bit too risky for us, and we didn't see really good numbers. And we weren't ready to go into, what's that called when you go into a group of people and do it together?
Like a partnership or syndication?
Syndication, yeah. We weren't really there yet. So I still was trying to figure out what a syndication was. So so anyways, I was like, well, why don't we look back home, because I can buy a house for like nothing. So and I've got a bunch of contractor friends there. I knew people, and I felt comfortable like being long distance and having a quality product, not just getting some random guy to fix my house. I knew that I could find people that would do a good job, charge a fair rate, and I could trust. So we looked, and I knew a good area in the Chautauqua region. And
so this is south of Buffalo for everyone. So they know. Yeah, go ahead.
And so, and there's a lot of tough places around there that really renting it. I mean, there's a lot of slums, and people just they just are longing for a good place to rent. And there's some cute, beautiful little neighborhoods with beautiful old houses. And I just got like a real heart for those. So we went and found one in a little town right next to the lake. I got it for $42,000, and we flipped it, and now we're renting the top and the bottom out.
So when you purchased this property, did you go and look at it? How many times did you actually travel to see the property once you bought it?
I think I went there twice. So the first time I went, I actually met up with a couple realtors, one in the Jamestown area, and then another one actually up in the Buffalo area, and kind of looked around a little bit up there. And the Buffalo area is kind of crazy. I got a long story about that, but save that for another podcast. But some shady stuff going on. But anyway, so I went twice. I found that one on the first trip. And then when we went to actually buy it, I went back before we closed and checked it out.
So not even during the rehab or once it was finished, you had everything taken care of for that?
No, so once we bought it, we actually closed December 28th. It took a little while. In New York, it's slow.
Right. Yeah.
As you know. So
Yes.
that was the winter of 2018,
2018.
18, 19 or whatever.
2018, we closed. Yeah.
Okay. So 2019, January, it was like super cold. You probably don't remember because they're always cold, but it was like negative every day. And so I went back to New York, and I'm changing out windows and doors in this house in the middle of the winter time, all by myself, trying to get this done. So I went back for 3 weeks and worked like 16-hour days trying to flip this house. Yeah, it was a lot of work, but I got it to a point where I kind of handed it over to my contractor buddy, and he finished it off for me. And then I had another guy do the siding and fix some of the roofing. So that was my buddy Eli the Amish guy.
Hey, save him for the MVP.
Yeah, okay.
And the Amish guys are the best for siding and roofing around here. I will definitely say that. They just did one of my properties too. And it was like, they're in and out in a day. And, there's 30 packs in the dumpster when they're done,
Did yours have to get a ride, or did they drive themselves?
Yeah, they have a ride. The guy, I would call him because he carries the cell phone, call him, schedule it, and then they get their ride, and the guy sits in the van, waits for them to be done. Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds right. Yep.
I just learned something new today. I just learned something new today. I did not know that was the thing in Buffalo. So
yeah,
I gotta go to Buffalo. Like, you guys got a good football team. There's some strong labor force with the Amish folks. So.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah, they do really the best quality work.
Yeah, it made me laugh that Trey was like, I'm expecting Eli to go to his neighbor's house to call me later today at 2.
Yeah, just a little side note. We had most of our furniture in our house built by the Amish, and they would send us a postcard when it was ready to be picked up. So we'd wait for the postcard, then we'd drive out and go get it. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Cool.
That's
so cool.
So after you're done, first of all, did you use the money from the manufactured home property to purchase this? Let's go into the numbers a little bit. And then did you refinance? Was it a BRRRR? How did that all work?
Yeah. So we took some of the money from the property we sold. And then we actually used some money. We actually loaded up. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but we got a ton of miles and points using credit cards, and it just paid them off. But we basically used that money to do it. It's kind of a conglomeration for us because we're not overly between the lines financially. I just go and work and we spend money kind of. So it might have been a little bit of fishing money and a little bit of the home sale money, but basically that was the plan. So I'm not sure exactly if it worked out that way, but yeah.
So you paid cash though for it. You didn't take hard money or private money or anything like that. You used your own funds for it. And then once you're done, did you refinance the property? So
we did get a mortgage originally, and then I used all my own money to flip it. So right now it's still under that mortgage, and we're just starting the process of refinancing it now. And do you have tenants in place? Yeah, we got renting. It's been a breeze. We literally put it on, and we get hundreds, and it's crazy. So tenants, great tenants, because it's a higher end. It's not high end, but it's a higher end for that area rental, and it really attracts some really good renters and a lot of interest. So we've been rented out since the day we decided to rent it. So what's you were scared early on, Trey, about being a landlord. So how has that experience been for you now that you've got, this property with tenants in it? Yeah, it's been great because we kind of were accidental investors in the beginning. And I wouldn't say everything's an accident, but we've had a lot of good pieces fall in place that I don't know if it was anything we did or just kind of worked out. But we've got a really good guy who manages our property, and he's just a great guy. He's not he doesn't do a ton of properties or anything like that. He's a buddy of mine who's a contractor, and he's done a good job of keeping it rented for us. If there's an issue like plumbing or something, he'll get a plumber out there. We just had him come cut some trees and stuff. So he keeps the ball rolling there. And he's been a huge asset for us. And I wouldn't mind running it if we're in town. It wouldn't bother me to do that. But just having him there, trusting him, and be able to work with him and having a good relationship has really made it so much easier than I think it could have been.
And that's a good point to make, right? Is that a lot of folks know that whatever market they live in might not be the ideal market for them to invest in. So they need to go out of state. And what you've shown so far is that putting the right team in place is critical, right? You have the right team to help you rehab the property. Now you've got the right person in place to help you manage it. And, not everyone's going to have the same, I think, contact that you have in terms of, you knew a lot of folks out there already, but for those of you that are listening, you can still build those relationships by going into those markets and getting to know people. So I love the approach that you guys took. Now, so give us kind of the overview of where you guys are today. So you had this first property that you built. Do you guys have anything else, or what's in the pipeline for you guys now?
We put in a cash offer on a duplex, like maybe 5 months after Trey started renting out the duplex. And it was in Jamestown. And then COVID hit and we kind of got scared because we're like, ooh, this is like a lot of cash. Like, what if we need this cash? Like, we just kind of got scared and it wasn't even closing anyways. So I think like 6 months later, we're like, okay, we're not doing it. I don't know if I regret it, but I'm like, well, it looks like it probably would have been okay. But we got scared. And then a deal popped up on MLS last summer. And it was a single family home in the area that we kind of look in. And it was on 10 lots. And so that made us like really attracted to it. And so we actually are still closing on that. And that was, that went pending August 24th.
I know it takes so long here to close,
so
especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long story though. There's like 3 brothers involved who own the property. So everybody's having to sign. It's taking forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are your plans for this property then? You said there's 10 lots. Are you going to sell some of those off?
We're kind of like just entertaining different thoughts, like building duplexes if the numbers work, and then selling like the single family home. Like, I think we could sell the single family home pretty easy because there was multiple offers, but we had a cash offer, so they picked us.
Yeah, and there's room for improvement on that house. It's a great, really what attracted us to it was the location. Like I couldn't go look at it, so I wanted something where I knew the location was solid, and the house itself. I had my property manager actually go and look at it for me, and the house itself's in great condition. So like there's room to add to it, but it was kind of like the numbers worked as it is, and the lots were pretty attractive, and it's a really good area. So there's like a kind of an empty canvas on this one. So we'll see what happens.
How far is that property from the other one that you guys have?
Maybe a half mile.
Oh, so they're all relatively close. Okay, so you guys plan to keep expanding in that same general area?
If we can, yeah, it's a great area.
It takes a while to close, so I'm like, I'm going to research how to do this without knowing a bunch of people.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, so yeah, so you guys also have a really cool dynamic, right? Because it sounds like you guys are each kind of holding different responsibilities within your real estate business. So can you guys walk us through who does what and kind of how that dynamic works?
I was just going to say that's all Annie, because it hasn't been like that on purpose a lot of times. Again, kind of accidental. We kind of just do what we're both good at, and it's kind of worked out. But there are times where we need to dial it in and kind of say, okay, what are we actually doing? And that's where Annie kind of is really taking the reins and kind of got us headed in the right direction. So,
well, I feel like me and Trey's marriage, like sometimes I kind of need to give Trey like a little push. Like after we did that duplex deal and 5 months went by, I'm like, we gotta, let's do another one. That's what we want to do, right? And so that's when I was like, well, Trey, he doesn't have the motivation and I have the motivation. So I started, listening to more podcasts and reading books. And I now like network a lot on BiggerPockets forums. And we host our own meetup, which was really out of my comfort zone since we're just rookies. But everyone else is like a rookie, I realized.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. How did you start the meetup? I mean, I think that's something a lot of people want to do, but they might be like you or me and uncomfortable with actually doing that. So yeah, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we attended 2 meetups in Seattle right before COVID hit. And then they ended that in February when stuff was like starting to shut down. And then we just sort of missed like talking about real estate. Like I think you mentioned, Ashley, like going and like having like adrenaline or like a high after like talking real estate. And like, we were just missing that. And so I just hosted I just put on the BiggerPockets events, and we just met at like a brewery, social distance, had masks or whatever. And it was really fun. And so it's not that scary. People, like most people hadn't even done a first deal yet that came to the meetup. So
yeah, it is so fun in like that adrenaline rush, that high after talking. And like once you get there and like just talking to one person right when you get there, like after that, it's like so easy and you become comfortable because you're with like-minded people.
I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm just, I haven't even done my first deal. I'm lame. But like, it's like everybody's there or has been there and really appreciates that person and wants to help them because they know how hard it is just to get that first deal done. And then they know after that it's not so scary. So
yeah, I mean, either whether you're talking to experienced investors, you're going to get a lot of knowledge. But even if you're talking to rookie investors, you're going to get a lot of knowledge because they're the ones out there researching, and you can team up with them to find the answer to a question you both want to know. So I don't think it really matters who shows up at the meetup because you're going to find great value just talking about real estate. Even if you leave just at the end of the day being inspired and motivated to keep going, it's definitely worth attending one or even starting your own.
For sure. Like I've had people text me that are in our meetups regularly, and they're like, have you closed on your deal yet? Like checking in on us, and we check in on them. It's cool.
Yeah.
Keeping each other accountable and motivated to keep going. Yeah. So what are your guys' goals for 2021? What do what's your portfolio going to look like at the end of 2021?
So I think we have moved around like way too much this last 10 years, and we're renting right now, and we really want to just like have our home that we're going to live in for the next 15, 20 years and raise our children in. And so that was kind of hard for us to decide like what market we want to live in and raise our family. Like we don't want to, we love Edmonds, but we don't want to be here forever. And so we decided to move to a small town in Alaska, which sounds really random, but we're both like, we have family in Alaska, and Trey's a commercial fisherman up there, and I go up there every summer. So our goals for 2021 are like building our home in Alaska and then adding an ADU to Airbnb.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's just going to be like a one door, even though our big goals are like 20 doors in 4 years. But that's our goals this year.
So you mentioned ADU. So for guests that aren't familiar with that term, what does that mean?
Like an accessory dwelling unit that you can either rent out or be a short-term rental.
Got it. So, and you guys are looking to turn that into a short-term rental for yourselves?
Yeah. So we go up to Alaska every year, and there's a small tourist town. My parents actually have a condo there. And it's just like a really good market to Airbnb.
Got it. Now, a lot of people who have done the long-term renting, they're maybe a little hesitant to go into the short-term rentals because, there's a lot more interaction, communication, and just the workload is more increased. I guess, are you worried about that, or what's your mindset on why it makes sense for you guys to take that leap?
It's like they say like house hacking, which we haven't really done. House hacking is like the best way to, save money, like towards your living expenses. And we were trying to think of what we want to do. And we both agreed that Airbnb or like a short-term rental would be a really good investment for us and something that I'm willing to take on for work.
And once, your property's paid off, you can turn that ADU or AD, what is it? ADU? ADA? ADU. ADU into a mother-in-law suite for your mother-in-law there, Trey.
We actually live right next door to my parents, so he's like, let's go to Alaska.
So my initial assumption was right about the mother-in-law then, right?
She might be listening. So
she knows we love her.
So what goes into the planning process of, building in a different state, especially Alaska? How are you guys preparing to do that? And are you starting to research, what are the Airbnb laws there? What are some resources for maybe someone else that wants to do this or go into a completely new market? They want to build new construction and they want to have a short-term rental there.
Like I kind of had this thought in my mind, like maybe like 2 summers ago when we were thinking about moving up there, and it kind of was just like a dream of mine, and I didn't think it was possible, and I still can't believe like it could happen. But basically we found a lot and a builder and contacted him. We got pre-approved, even though we were like, I don't know, this is too good to be true kind of feeling like, but we just like put in the work and tried to do it. And we got pre-approved. We contacted a builder, sent him like our plans, like for like the home we want to build. And he told us like what we could do with our budget. And I just feel like it's happening. So just like putting in the work. Did I answer all the questions? I don't know.
Well, also one thing that is super helpful, especially since we're out of state for where we're building, is just contacting the city, making sure all the codes and regulations are going to work for that property. Because the builder, he didn't necessarily know all that stuff, because ADUs are kind of a unique thing. But contacting the city is huge.
The city planner.
Yeah, and then just talking to people there too, and the real estate agents there and stuff. So there's a lot of resources. Just kind of got to go searching a little bit for it.
Now, you guys have I think a unique kind of journey in real estate. You guys are partners. You're investing out of state. You're doing flips out of state or rehabbing out of state. I'm sure you've learned some things along the way that you didn't know or you wish you had known when you first started. So for all of the rookies that are listening right now, what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced that have made you better investors today that you'd like to share with the listeners?
I'll let Trey take this one, but I would say one thing, like plan to go over budget, like 20,000 maybe.
Well, yeah, I think one thing is, this is probably, you guys probably talk about this on BiggerPockets all the time. I don't know, but don't like plan for that perfect scenario. Make sure that you leave a buffer for things that don't necessarily go wrong, but you didn't plan for, especially that first time. And I don't know. When I went into it, I was just like, oh, I'll just go in and fix this house myself, blah, blah, blah. I can do it all. But I found that having people to help you makes it not only more enjoyable and more doable, it's just a better experience, and you get a better product because you're not rushing through trying to get this thing done. And also, if you do the work to find those people and you budget for it, it's just a more streamlined process, and it's definitely worth paying somebody to help you out. I think that's one thing I really learned, because I feel like I can do it all, but I don't have to do it all. So
you're giving up that time for money.
Yeah, exactly.
Or vice versa. You're giving up money now to have more of your time. Yeah.
Right.
One thing I want to say is that how you said before you went into that, just said, people have already probably said this a lot, but I want to say it again. I think it is so important to, whatever you believe in or whichever you think is going to help someone be successful, say it as much as you want, even if 50 other people are saying it, because there's someone out there that has not heard that before. And sometimes it also takes the right person for you to hear that from. Like, I could tell you something, and then a week later, Tony could be telling you, his story, and then him say it, and that's when it could really hit home. So don't be afraid to ever keep saying stuff. And that goes to everybody. Like, whatever you think is so important in real estate and can really help rookies, repeat it, no matter if other people are saying it, because even if it helps one person out there get started or get their next deal, it's worth you saying that. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
I want to jump into one of our first segments. So this is where we learn about someone who is a valuable, player on your real estate team and has really helped you grow your real estate business. This is called the MVP. And so who has been someone besides each other that has really helped you grow your real estate business? Annie, do you want to go first?
Well, I wanted to choose the Amish just because they saved us so much money on our siting. Yeah. But I think Trey could explain someone we really appreciate and why we appreciate him.
Yeah, I'd say our property manager for sure. He's just been so helpful. He was, from the beginning, he was super excited to help us out. And he's reasonable and he does the work, even though he's not making a bunch of money, but he's there, to help us out. And he's also excited about real estate. He's trying to build his own real estate portfolio. So just I'd say by far, he's been the most help. Just having him boots on the ground, someone I can text anytime I need to. He'll go walk properties for me. He'll tell me about issues and take care of them. So for sure, my property manager.
And one thing that he's definitely doing that I think is valuable is that he wants to learn and grow as a real estate investor. So he's getting paid by you to get that experience. So like, I feel like that is a win-win for both of you. Like he is learning to, help grow his portfolio and you're paying him, and you also have that comfort, ease of mind that you have someone that's motivated, that you can trust, that's loyal, and that's going to do a good job because they want to do this for themselves too. So that's awesome. And most important question, how does everybody else find someone like him?
I don't know. I would say, that's like, drafting a quarterback, right? Like, they don't come around all the time. But no, I think, it was funny. Everyone's story is probably different, but for me, everything I do from commercial fishing to my construction business to real estate, it's all about relationships. It's all about referrals. There is so many people in your line of people, somebody will be able to find somebody who you can trust and then you go to. You just got to keep walking that path until you find them.
And real estate is a relationship business all the way. And what you find is typically the most successful real estate investors are the most connected, right? And they've built the most relationships. And it's not even always about, going in it with some specific intention, but just, hey, you like real estate, I like real estate, let's talk, let's get to know each other. And you start building bonds with people. Some of the people that I talk to the most are real estate investors. Like it just turns out to be that way because we love talking about it. So I love that advice, Trey, because you got to focus on the relationships if you want to be successful. So I want to take us to our next segment here, which is our Rookie Request Line. You guys have some great insights, and I want to give the listeners a chance to get their questions answered. So for those of you that are listening, if you want your question featured on the show, give us a call at 888-5-ROOKIE. You can leave us a voicemail, and if we like it, we'll put it on the show. So today's question is from Paul in Michigan.
Hi, my name is Paul Livernoy, calling from Novi, Michigan. I am a rookie real estate investor. I'm a contractor by trade. So my question is, I do not have a W-2 job. We just started buying our first flip, but I want to start buying rentals. My concern is with the BRRRR process, where should I go for financing the refinancing portion of the BRRRR? I hope that makes sense. I hope that came across all right. I sound like such a rookie. Thank you guys for doing what you do. Certainly appreciate it. You guys rock.
Man, sounds like me talking. That's exactly where even we are now. Like we're just getting into the BRRRR part of this and trying to figure it out, especially out of state. It's been a little bit tricky. A lot of local credit unions and stuff were willing to help me if I was living there. But because I couldn't be a member and didn't live, worship, or work in the state, they wouldn't lend to me. So, but we have found a couple banks that we're working through, applying for those refinances. But honestly, I don't have a lot of insight on that because I've been struggling with that same thing. And maybe like Ashley, she's started investing out of state. Maybe she has some better insight, but honestly, it is a challenge, but we're getting there. Just got to keep calling banks.
Yeah, I guess one thing to add, so with the credit union piece, I struggle with that with my out-of-state investing as well. But I was able to show that I had family in that city, and that was enough of a connection for that credit union to lend to me. So if you've got family in some of those markets, they might be willing to do that.
I haven't started investing out of state. I'm still lagging on that goal there, but full disclosure, I have been looking. But I have used like online banks. One I used was Bank of Axos. So they lend all over the country. And I did it just for a rental near me in Buffalo. But they lend all over the country. And then Jacqueline Smith, who was on episode 43, I think, she talked about a lender, and that's probably in the show notes for her episode, that did really nice financing for BRRRRs specifically. And for flips that was worked in multiple states. So I think just like going online and searching for banks that worked like nationwide. But you had mentioned that they said if you work there, I don't know if this would work, but what you could do is, have your LLC that owns the property, and then you have your contractor LLC, have the LLC for that property pay you for your contracting services, because then you are technically working, you received income from New York State by working on a property in New York State. So I don't know if that would actually work, but that was the first thing that came to mind. So.
Yeah. Or partners, right? Ash and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
So, Paul, if you're, you don't have the W-2 income, go find someone that does, and you guys work out some kind of partnership agreement where you use their income and your expertise and time. So.
Okay, so let's go on to our random questions. I'll ask one to Annie if you want to ask one to Trey. Tony,
okay.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Annie, you talked about, the books you read, the podcast. Besides, obviously, the BiggerPockets podcast, what's another podcast and a book that you highly recommend for a rookie investor?
I just started reading the book on real rental property investing by Brandon Turner, which I feel like, we already have an investment. I don't need to read that, but I'm actually learning a lot, and it would be really good for a rookie. Podcasts, I listen to BiggerPockets and Crime Junkie. That's it. So I can't recommend another podcast. Well, and I listen to the news, but did that answer your question?
Well, we'll take the BiggerPockets podcast then.
There you go. So Trey, for you as the reluctant spouse, what advice do you have for maybe other people who are listening, a husband and wife duo where one person isn't as ready? What advice do you have for that spouse that might be kind of holding back on jumping into real estate investing?
Mostly, and I struggled with this, so I'm not saying that this is perfect, but I think a lot of it is respecting your spouses or whoever, respecting what they're really excited about, and starting to at least look into it, whether it's listening to podcasts or reading, and try to understand a little bit why they're so excited, and try to help them build that desire and to make it into reality. I think there's something about respecting people's heart desires and going after. For me, if it was just me, I never would have done this, but I was like, Annie's really into this. I need to at least look into it. I need to see what I can do to help her build her dream. And then once you get into it, it's kind of fun, and you start doing something together. And although we've got it gone, we haven't always been on the same page, but when we are, it's super fun, and it's worth it.
Yeah. So one piece of advice, if you're listening right now and you're trying to get your spouse on board, I feel like this question comes up a lot. You have to show, like Trey said, you have to show that excitement, right? You have to have the podcast on while you guys are cooking breakfast together. You have to go to the meetups and invite your spouse along. You have to be reading the books and letting your spouse know what you're learning, and joining the Facebook groups and tagging them and stuff. And you have to show them how serious and how excited you are, and let them know that this isn't something that you're just dabbling in, but something that you're committing to. And I know that's what helped me, is showing my wife that hey, this is something that I truly believe has the power to change our financial future. So I love that advice, Trey.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think the why, like you guys talk about, is really important. Because if it's just let's go make some money, blah blah blah, that's not exciting to me. I can make money doing other things. It's the why and the vision and the long term why, doing this together, and why are we doing this together is super important.
I like that. I like especially the why are we doing it together too. I think that's important for any partnership, not even, husband and wife, but making sure that you and your business partner goals are aligned, and that you guys are on the same track. And one of you, might be, you don't want to get to a fork in the road, and all of a sudden you built this portfolio and you both want to end up in different directions. And then where do you go from there? So I like that a lot. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on the show today. We love to hear your story and the advice that you guys gave.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was fun.
Yeah. Where can everyone find out some more information about you guys?
I'm on BiggerPockets page a lot. You can find me, Annie Johnson, I think. You can just search and you'll see me in Trey's picture. And I have an Instagram, Annie Hatch Johnson, HATCH. But I don't really put investing stuff on there. It's mostly just me and my family. But yeah, Trey has Instagram he puts his work on.
Yeah, I need to update it, but it's True Construction Projects.
Awesome. Well, we'll put those in the show notes, biggerpockets.com/rookie46. And everybody, don't forget to join our Facebook group. Annie and Trey, are you guys in the Facebook group?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we're in
Yeah,
it.
that's a yes.
Yeah.
Say yes.
Yeah, we're on there. We love it. We
Well,
love
you got to
that
be
group.
on there by the time your show airs. So you're going to have lots of people that want to ask you guys questions. But just search Real Estate Rookie in Facebook, and you'll see it pop up. And make sure you hit the I agree to the rules, or else the moderators will not let you into the group. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm Ashley Kerr at Wealth from Rentals, and he's Tony Robinson at Tony J. Robinson. And we'll see you guys next week.